Is the hobby dying? Why aren't kids getting into trains anymore? Well, there's actually a really simple answer to all of that stuff. Let's check it out. Welcome to Dadified, the channel. If you can't tell from the name, I'm a dad and I do train stuff with my kid because we love it. It's a lot of fun to do together, to explore this and to share it with you guys. So if you haven't already, subscribe. There's lots of fun stuff that we've made already that we hope you enjoy, as well as new stuff that's coming up. There's always new stuff that we're doing pretty much on a weekly basis. So you can count on us for that stuff. Hit that bell if you want to get notified for when the new stuff is coming out, because again, there's a lot of it and we don't want you to miss any of it if this is what you're into. Speaking of what you're into, when we were first getting into O-gauge trains, as a dad, I do my research. I jump online, see what's going on. Whew, you know what the internet's full of? Lots of angry people, lots of negativity, lots of naysayers, lots of complainers. And that's not exactly a good look for somebody that's first looking to get into the hobby. Now, thankfully, I had a fun childhood with trains with my dad, so I was already kind of jazzed about potentially getting into this with my son anyways. I found some great shining stars in the hobby to kind of latch onto, and we went from there. You can take your guesses as to who those kind of influences were. But that is something that I've seen that is not only a continuing trend, but a growing trend. Folks like getting clicks and attention from all of these bad topics. And that's great for their channel growth, I suppose. But it's not so good for the hobby, because all of the most popular videos are what come up first when people look for things, all the trending stuff. And you know what's trending? People saying bad stuff about this hobby. They're model trains, for Pete's sake. And yet folks have managed to make it apparently their life's work to go out there and bash on stuff. And it's not just content creators that are guilty of this sometimes. It's a lot of times in the comments. Folks that have been given a platform to voice their opinion. And that's great, until that opinion is so overwhelming that that's all we see. It's not exactly helpful when I jumped on Facebook for the first time looking at O-gauge trains, and the moment I mentioned Lion Chief, the moment I mentioned Fast Track, the moment I mentioned anything modern, all these guys come out of the woodwork. Oh no, all that insert name of Asian country here, crap is, falls apart and is, you need American made, you need a conventional transformer, and command control's a hoax, and blah, blah, blah. There's so many angry people on the internet when I was trying to figure out how to get started with this. Now, I'm not saying that conventional control and made in the USA and all that stuff is bad. However, if the current state of O-gauge trains is not that, then if all you're doing is promoting stuff from 50, 60, 70 plus years ago, then that's not exactly an encouraging way to get folks into the hobby. If they can't just go down the street to a hobby shop, pick up a starter set with confidence, and go home and enjoy it, they're not going to do it. These things are already expensive enough. The kids, there's no problem with kids getting into trains, because Brio trains and Thomas Trackmaster and TV shows and stuff like that, there's lots of stuff that's geared towards kids. And all they've got to do is convince their parents to go out and get this expensive stuff. Getting used stuff, which is something that I like to focus on here with the Secondhand Overland, used stuff can help as well. But in general, if you're talking down the hobby, if you're talking down all these things, the direction that the hobby is moving, then fewer people are going to even give the new stuff a chance, because they've already been led to believe by the alleged experts on the internet that everything is awful. Conventional control is fine. The older trains and stuff like that are fantastic. They just run, they're bulletproof, and they're actually pretty kid-proof as well, which is makes them a great thing to kind of start out with, especially for younger kids. You're not spending as much, and they're built a little bit better for the most part, especially the older engines. Rolling stock, I mean, honestly, even current rolling stock can still hold up, but really when you're looking at engines, you really can't beat the old US of A when it comes to those post-war trains if you're just getting started with a transformer of a loop of track on the floor. It's fantastic. However, it is a little bit easier to interest kids in things when you add more technology, because that's what we're surrounded with. Everyone I see is being like, well, if you want kids to be interested in it, put an iPad in front of them. Okay, we did. with trains. Where have you been? Lion Chief has an app for Bluetooth that you can control modern trains with. You've also got the Base 3 to be able to control from a tablet then too. There's all sorts of ways you can control trains with modern technology. And they wouldn't be able to do that if it weren't for the modern tech that's inside these things. Now, I know that repairs can get interesting, if not impossible, on newer stuff, because that stuff's kind of tricky to repair. And trains are already expensive enough as it is. Trains were expensive back then. They are and should be more expensive now, not just because of inflation, but because there's more stuff in it. If I had a train that could go forward and backwards and maybe had a whistle in the tender, versus a train that did all of that and then some, with all the tech and all the features and all the ways we can connect and the lighting and the smoke effects and all that other stuff, yeah, I'd pay more for this one too. So the rising cost of this hobby isn't unjustified, isn't manufacturers just being greedy. There are so much more in modern stuff than there was back then, so they should cost more, inflation or otherwise. But once you get those kids into trains, kind of societal, another thing we kind of can't really fight is kids get busy with sports and school stuff and all that other stuff, and a lot of times their hobbies and interests are dictated by their peers. Let's face it, there's fewer kids that are out there that are into trains. And my son just started kindergarten. I'm willing to bet that he's going to get pulled into other different interests and hobbies as he gets more involved with school and his friends are into other stuff as well. But I'm a social bug. I am willing to invite his friends over here to check out trains and give them that exposure that maybe they didn't have before. Sharing this hobby can really be infectious. Catch the fever, if you will. So if you're like, oh man, kids aren't getting into trains, there are more things you can do to expose this stuff. The train club that's at the local mall that I'm in, when I go there and there's parents there with kids, which is 90% of the folks that are visiting the displays that are there, you would be surprised at not only how many little kids are there, but how many teenagers are in there. And they're looking around like, holy crap, these are model trains. I just thought it was all Thomas the Tank Engine and that was it. There are so many ways to enjoy model trains, and exposing kids to those trains is a fantastic way to keep their interest or even spark a new interest in them. You don't have to be a little kid to get into trains. But again, when you're looking around on the internet and you're looking for inspiration and all you're met with is negativity and terrible things and people naysaying in the comments and bringing you down, it's not exactly an encouraging way to get into things, especially with how important social media is to younger kids. It's their life. This is the stuff that they live on. So if we fill it full of the crap that's going to push them away, yeah, there's not going to be any kids interested in trains. Congratulations, you did that yourself. But it doesn't have to be that way. And I'm not here to say, watch my stuff because it's all happy-go-lucky. Okay, most of my stuff is, but there's more than just me out there. There are lots of folks that are promoting this hobby in fantastic ways. There just needs to be more of them. And right now, it just seems like there's, a good chunk of us that seems to be growing. I'm feeling more of that, but the overwhelming, easy to get sucked into negative side of things is still the overarching feeling. And it's stuff like that that can kill a hobby. And let's not forget all the different ways that you can enjoy this hobby. This is, for all intents and purposes, a super hobby. And it's more than just woodworking to build the table, electronics to hook things up, to repair things, to learn how things work. Even if it's just, how you want to enjoy the trains or how to collect them. What kind of era do you want to model potentially? What sort of fun do you want to have with this? One of the things I really love specifically about O-Gauge is all the different ways that you can enjoy this hobby. You can do post-war, you can do modern, you can blend the two. You can have all these animated features. There's all these great ways to do this. And to try and confine it to one single thing, that's where O-Gauge kind of defines itself from all the other scales, because there's so many different ways that you can do this. And embracing that and having fun with that and promoting that kind of enjoyment that is all-encompassing regardless of how you want to do it is what's fantastic about O-Gauge. So if you want to see the hobby grow, be part of something that has forward, positive momentum. I mean, all the folks that are stuck on where things were at in the past, those trains and all the fun that we had with those is fantastic. But if we're not supporting where things are going, then there's not going to be any new trains and there's not going to be any kind of future really for it. It's all going to live in secondhand, and honestly, having things on shelves in places like hobby shops and stuff like that is where a lot of folks are first introduced to this sort of stuff. It's already an expensive hobby, but you can overcome that with all the good stuff that you can get out of this if they can see that good stuff. So whether you're here watching, commenting, liking, if you've got your own channel, if you got Instagram and Facebook or any other social media platforms, if you guys are in your local clubs and other ways that you can reach folks in your community, if you guys can help and, catch the fever, then that is going to have much more of a positive effect on our hobby than we could ever imagine. Now, I'm not here to say everything's all rainbows and unicorns, and there's nothing wrong with this hobby, and that there's, not things that need to be addressed. No, but we can help that, and we can help grow this hobby, and when there's more people invested in the hobby, then there's more people getting stuff. When there's more people getting stuff, there's more trains to enjoy. When there's more trains to enjoy, then man, this is kind of sounding a little bit utopian, but I just want to help us get to some semblance of that. So leave a comment down below. Let me know what you guys have been doing to be a positive force in your communities, both in person and in train clubs and museums and all that stuff, or even online. Love seeing what you guys are doing, love supporting you, and I love all the support we've been getting from you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you all on the next one, because it's not quite dead yet.